7 minutes before the train. English listening story, level B2. Episode 1. Platform 9. 200 words. The announcement echoed through the station. Final boarding call. 7 minutes. That was all the time I had left to decide who I was. People rushed past me, dragging suitcases, holding hands, laughing too loudly. I stood still, gripping my ticket so tightly it bent in my palm. One way. I had planned everything carefully. New city, new name, no explanations. Running felt easier than staying. Then I heard my name. Not shouted. Not desperate. Just calm, certain. I turned. He stood near the clock, not coming closer. Not asking for permission to exist in my space. His eyes met mine like he had been waiting, not chasing. "I won't stop you," he said. My chest tightened. "I just need to know something." The clock clicked loudly above us. Each second felt like a step closer to disappearance. "Are you leaving because you're afraid?" he continued. "Or because you've finally chosen yourself?" No one had ever asked me that. The train doors opened with a metallic sigh. 6 minutes. For the first time in years, running didn't feel brave. Episode 2. The weight of staying. I had always believed leaving meant freedom. But standing there, I felt how heavy staying could be, and how powerful. "I don't know who I am here," I said, my voice quieter than I wanted. He nodded as if that answer was enough. "You don't disappear to find yourself," he replied. "Sometimes you stay long enough to stop hiding." I laughed once, sharp and broken. Easy for you to say. He finally stepped closer. "No," he said gently. "It's not." For a moment, the noise of the station faded. No announcements, no footsteps, just breath and truth. "I stayed," he continued, "when leaving would have saved me pain, and I left when staying would have destroyed me." I looked at the ticket again. This city had taken so much from me, dreams, confidence, pieces of my voice, but it had also shaped me. The train conductor called out again. 5 minutes. If I left, no one would blame me. If I stayed, no one would promise anything, and that scared me more than the unknown. Episode 3. The question I avoided, 200 words. "What if I stay and nothing changes?" I asked. That was the real fear. Not failure. Not loneliness. Stagnation. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took something from his pocket, a folded paper, worn from being carried too long. "I wrote this 3 years ago," he said, "on the day I almost left." I didn't open it. "I don't need to," I said. "I already know." He smiled just slightly. "Then you know this too," he said. Leaving doesn't guarantee growth. Staying doesn't guarantee suffering. The clock struck again. 4 minutes. I realized then that the train wasn't the decision. Fear was. I took a step back from the platform edge. Not toward him. Not away. Just grounded. "I don't want to run anymore," I said. His shoulders relaxed, like he had been holding his breath for years. The train doors began to close, and for the first time, I didn't feel left behind. Episode 4. The day after. 200 words. The next morning felt unfamiliar. Same walls, same streets. But something inside me had shifted, like furniture moved in the dark. I woke up early, waiting for regret. It didn't come. Instead, there was a quiet discomfort, like standing in shoes that hadn't been broken in yet. Staying wasn't relief. It was responsibility. My phone buzzed with messages I had avoided for months. Work, family, expectations. I answered them. Every reply felt like lifting weight I had pretended wasn't there. Later that day, I passed the train station again. The platforms were empty, the clock still ticking, indifferent. I realized something unsettling. Leaving would have been dramatic. Staying was invisible. No one applauds when you choose the harder, quieter path. That evening, he texted me only once. "You don't owe me anything." I stared at the message for a long time. That freedom was heavier than any promise. Episode 5. The cost of being seen. 200 words. Choosing to stay meant being visible again. At work, I spoke up in meetings instead of shrinking. My voice shook. I spoke anyway. Not everyone liked it. Some smiled politely. Others made it clear they preferred the old version of me. Silent, agreeable, easy. I went home exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. That night, doubt crept in. What if the train was my only clean exit? What if courage was just delayed regret? I met him for coffee 2 days later. No tension, no romance, just honesty. Staying hurts more than I thought, I admitted. He didn't rush to comfort me. Growth usually does, he said. Outside, people hurried past, chasing places, chasing futures. I don't want you staying because of me, he added. I met his eyes. I'm not, I said. And for the first time, I knew it was true. Episode 6, When Fear Loses Its Voice, 200 words. Fear didn't disappear. It changed tone. It no longer screamed. It whispered. Late at night, it asked questions instead of making threats. What if this isn't enough? What if you fail loudly? I answered it with action. I applied for the position I was not ready for. I set boundaries where I used to apologize. I said no without explaining. Each choice was small. Together, they rewrote me. One evening, as I walked home, I passed the station again. Another train arrived. Doors opened. People stepped out. Arriving, not escaping. I smiled. I wasn't stuck. I was present. My phone buzzed. Proud of you, he wrote. Instead, I put the phone away and kept walking. Because the most important witness to my life was finally me. Episode 7, The Cracks Appear, 200 words. Confidence is fragile when it's new. Mine cracked on an ordinary afternoon. A meeting. A comment said too casually. A smile that didn't reach the eyes. We need someone more stable, my manager said. Not unkind, not cruel. Just final. I nodded as if it didn't hurt. But on the walk home, my hands shook. I had stayed. I had tried. And still, it wasn't enough. That night, the station returned in my dreams. The train waiting. The doors open. This time, no one called my name. I woke up with tears I didn't remember earning. Fear found its voice again. Not loud, mocking. You should have left when you had the chance. I didn't tell him. Some battles are meant to be fought alone. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Not broken, just tired of proving she deserved space. Episode 8, The Almost Goodbye, 200 words. I didn't plan to go to the station. My feet took me there. Like muscle memory knew something my mind resisted. The clock showed the same time as before. 7 minutes before departure. Different train. Same question. I bought a ticket. Not because I wanted to leave, but because I wanted to know if I still could. Holding it felt like holding an apology to myself. Then I heard footsteps. I hoped I wouldn't find you here, he said quietly. I didn't turn around. If you tell me to stay, I said, I'll resent you. He understood. That's why I won't, he replied. We stood side by side, not touching. I'm scared, I admitted. So am I, he said. But fear doesn't get to decide anymore. The train arrived. The doors opened. And for the first time, I stepped back on purpose. Not because someone asked me to, but because I finally trusted myself. Episode 9, What Remains, 200 words. Some losses don't announce themselves. They fade quietly. The job ended. Some people disappeared. The city remained the same. I didn't. Weeks passed. I found work that valued honesty over perfection. I spoke less but meant every word. One evening, he and I walked without destination. No plans, no promises. You know, he said, this was never about the train. I smiled. I know. It was about permission. To stay without shrinking. To leave without running. To exist without asking. At the edge of the river, I stopped. I don't need to be rescued, I said. He nodded. I never wanted to rescue you. We stood there as the city lights reflected on the water. Imperfect, moving, alive. For the first time, the future didn't feel like something chasing me. It felt like something waiting. Episode 10, final part. No departure time, 200 words. I stopped checking the clock. That was how I knew everything had changed. Life didn't separate itself into before and after anymore. It flowed, uneven, honest, real. One morning, I passed the station and realized I hadn't been there in weeks. The platforms were full of people holding beginnings, endings, and everything in between. I wished them well silently. Not because I had chosen better, but because I had chosen consciously. He and I never defined what we were. No labels, no urgency. Just two people walking forward without pulling each other back. Some days were heavy, some were bright. Most were ordinary, and that was enough. One evening, I caught my reflection in a window and smiled. Not because I was happy all the time, but because I was no longer divided. I hadn't escaped my life. I had entered it. There was no dramatic departure, no applause, no final boarding call, Just presents. And for the first time, I didn't need a train to tell me where I was going. I was already on my way. For more interesting stories, welcome to the English Listening Stories channel.